Valentine's Day is not just your romantic or, horny love. Like, it's a day where you celebrate love and like the beauty of it. And especially to me as Christians, like, love is the force that brought us back. Jesus had that agape love that said, you know what, like, I'm gonna step in. Like, it was a drive. Like, God is love. And it is that force that caused Jesus to say, I will leave the side of my Father to rescue and bring home that lost brother. Ladies do that. They do a good job at like celebrating. They'll have these like beautiful gatherings. How fun. Like, what's up? Like, you taking the time, whether you're the hostess or you bringing something to that to say like, let me serve you, let me love on you. And I do think guys should do that. Oh, I will fight somebody that tells me that romances aren't a thing.
Oh god, the cameras are rolling.
I know.
We do have the power of the edit.
Oh,
I
here
have
we
the
go.
power of the edit. Good thing Ben doesn't. He'd be like,
Mike check.
I'm going to cut
might
this out and I'm going
We
to cut
might
that
not
out.
even have a show.
He's like, cut all the flavor out. Well, hello, Catalyst Coffee.
Hi,
Hello.
what's up?
What's
What's
up?
going on, guys?
How's it going?
Thanks for coming back.
Oh,
I guess we didn't scare you off too bad.
no.
No.
Y'all make it fun.
You can get up on that mic just a little.
Oh,
Yeah, just push
yeah.
her a little closer. Just pull her
Gotcha.
where she's comfortable.
Okay, she
your
is
way with
pretty
it.
comfortable.
I cannot tell you guys how excited I am for this episode alone because, like, just the fact that you guys started doing it in the foyer and, like, coming in every Sunday morning smelling coffee. Oh,
Hmm.
oh.
Well, thank you.
Tell us
good
what
stuff.
Catalyst Coffee is.
It got birthed out of, it's kind of like a multi-part thing. I'll go off first and then
Yeah, you take
I'll
it
hand
away.
you the mic. Well, I guess we both have mics. Anyways, oh man, was it last year? I guess it was last year.
It's like last August.
Lacey took me on a date for my birthday. She bought me a coffee class, an espresso class specifically, to Tenfold. So Tenfold is this incredible coffee shop in Houston. They're roasters. If you're ever in there, you should check them out. But she, the Christmas before, I got like a cheap little espresso machine for Christmas. I used to not be a big espresso fan.
And this is just like a year ago?
No, I guess Christmas of 2023.
Okay, a couple years ago.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, Christmas 2023, I got a little espresso machine. I was like, you know what? I've dabbled. I love pour overs. I love coffee. I love different methods of doing regular
Right.
coffee. I was like, I'm gonna dabble in the espresso world. It's its own niche.
Oh, yeah.
It's its own like culture. I didn't really understand it or how complicated it was.
Well, and they can be a little snobby too.
Out of all the coffee,
yeah.
Can they be snobby?
yes, out of all the coffee snobs, because even like pour over culture, you start dabbling into the snobbery that is coffee, which I take pride in that. But they're their own little like subculture, and I never really like wanted to go into it because I think my experience with espressos was like they're always like dark and burnt. So I was like, oh, I don't know. But I was like, you know what? It was Christmas time. My family was like, we want to get you something. And I was like, you know what? Let's give me an espresso machine. I'll dive into it. And I didn't want to ask them for much. So I got this like $200 one.
Which is
Like,
on the cheaper side, right?
Oh, it's on the
Oh, yeah,
super
yeah.
cheaper side.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I have like a very crummy little one. And so I got it and I thought, you just put beans in there, you just do your thing. And I found that there's more to it. So Lacey, being the incredible woman that she is, and supports my hobbies. Not that I have much, but she found this class through Tenfold that you go and they just like teach you all about espresso shots, like how to pour one, how to dial in, and just like the art behind it. So
How long was the class?
it's like an hour and it was magnificent.
Dude, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It really is. Like I would recommend it if you're looking for a creative, cool, fun date. It's fun. It was us and like 3 other couples, and it's fun. Like they walk you through They go behind the science, like how to measure it, what you're looking for, your ratios, your time, because basically there's several components to pouring a good espresso shot. Time, ratios are big, and that's how you adjust. But I mean, it's wild. Like you could adjust your grind set and everything one day, and then the next day you have to readjust it because weather conditions and little things can
Oh,
alter it.
similar to like baking bread, huh?
Like micro adjustments, but yes, very much.
Interesting.
And I don't know much about bread, but yes.
Well, the whole thing with bread, right, is like in different altitudes. You gotta
Right.
tweak
Oh,
it and stuff.
100%.
Yeah, and I know my wife's experience with making sourdough. Some days if it's raining and it doesn't come out the same. So that's really interesting that
It
espresso is
truly
that
is wild.
intricate. Yeah,
It is way more
it's a
intricate.
science.
It truly is, and it's beautiful. And I'm a science nerd, so it helps out. Honestly, that's probably where I like pour overs and all this. So, we went through it, and I started kind of toying the idea where it would be fun to, uh, like have a coffee shop. And that kind of started. I put that in a bug in the back of my head, but I just kind of like just put that dream back there. Anytime we host community groups, in our house, I would like started making lattes for people, and I find that to bring me so much joy. I think there's something about coffee that brings people together. I think we talked about it last time, like culturally, like it's in my Mexican culture,
Yeah,
but it's just like fun. And then I started playing with syrups. That's another thing that I love about it. Like you can create flavors and tweak things and add combinations that like you wouldn't think would make sense, like orange and cardamom, and then you combine it with coffee, and then you just like put in that milk, which kind of like neutralizes it and just kind of brings it all. Man, just incredible. So I took the class and I was like, that'll be fun to do. And I kind of started just really getting into it. Then we have our friend who used to be, for us, it was a youth kid back when we were at Grace. But he was what, a classmate of yours?
He was like 2 years older than me. We went to high school
Yeah.
together.
His
Oh,
name is
nice.
Peyton Allen.
Okay.
He graduated, got married, left Nac, and he started his own. It started as a cart, like a little like trailer, and now he has his own shop in the port, Sweet Pea. If you're in the port, check them out. They're incredible. But Sweet Pea Coffee Shop. Then we went, because we are like, and I always wanted to go see him because he started out at Katie. Uh, and then maybe, and I talked about going. So we're like, man, that'll be fun. Let's just go. I want to go. So we met up there and it was cool, like seeing his dream play out. And they just started like nagging at me even more. And while we were sitting there, I looked at Abby and I was like, what do you like? What do you want to do with your life? Like, what sets you excited? Like, what? I don't know. Like that question,
coffee,
you
that
know?
coffee had you contemplating
I'm
life.
telling you. And that's what I
Everyone's
love
life
about
at the
coffee.
table.
And that's when Abby said,
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I tried college. I graduated in 2020 during COVID. College was terrible online, couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Had like the worst year of my life during 2020, and I was just like, I'm just gonna work. Like that's all I want to do. And so I found a random job at a hardware store, worked there, and then found another job, stuck with that, and then right around the time Jesus was contemplating my life at the coffee shop, I was also contemplating, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what do I want to do with my life?
Yeah.
And I've always had the dream of owning a business. I didn't really know what kind of business I wanted to open, but I knew I wanted it to be, like, in my hometown. And speakeasies have always kind of been, like, I guess you could say a vibe for me here. And so that's what I told him. I was like, speakeasy is kind of my dream here. I don't know where, what, how, when. Don't know any of the things, but that's what I want to do. And so kind of clashed our dreams
Yeah.
together.
So,
We-
like eventually when you do get a coffee house going, you're gonna have a little speakeasy in the back.
100%.
back.
Ooh.
Truly, the full name is Catalyst Coffee Bar and Lab. I was driving back from Dallas, and I put this a lot on the Lord, but like he just started bringing like dreams up and like, what do you want? And just I felt him pressing on it, and the idea of a coffee shop, and I was like, it's scary. And he was like, well, dream big. Like, I don't want you to hold back. So, I started even just like thinking of names and just like dreaming of what that would look like. And then he like brought up Ivy to mind. And Waco has a coffee shop like that called Dichotomy. And it's half bar, half coffee shop. And I was like, man, that would be really fun to do. So I
Well, I mean, in the clientele, you get the morning crew and the
exactly
half
morning
evening
crew and then
crew.
evening crew, and even
Yeah.
like my favorite restaurant, Onyx, in Arkansas, they also have an upstairs bar that they open up at
There you
night.
go.
So I hit up Ivy and I said, hey, are you serious about opening up a bar? She was like, yeah. And I said, I think we should go in business together.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like I got that text, and then it was like the next thing we know, we're like setting up a folding table at the church, and feels like we haven't really looked back since. So
Mm.
Well,
just
it's good
kinda-
coffee. I'll tell you what. I like it.
Mhm.
yeah,
It's definitely, well, no offense to Mosaic Church, but it's a little step above the. I've noticed that they've stopped
You-
serving the coffee.
Oh, they did.
Versus the free coffee?
Yeah, the free coffee's
yeah.
not there anymore.
Which are some elderly people that are not as happy, but
yeah,
Mm.
it is what it is.
you know.
I don't know what the grounds were.
Let it be known that it wasn't us. I think they were wanting to head that direction of like ending it because I think it was just too much of a hassle.
Mm.
Uh,
A little bit of a setup. Yeah, I
Mhm.
get that.
and
And those kids
Putting
are just
Brady to
crazy
work.
with it.
Yeah, if you open up a free coffee to the kiddos and then get
Yeah.
everybody caffeinated, I can see how that could be.
All
a
the
problem, too.
sugar packets on the ground, the
Uh-huh.
milk drops
If you have
everywhere.
ADD, it helps you focus.
yeah,
Truth.
that is true.
These kids don't have ADD.
Mm.
Maybe
That's
we need to,
overblown. That's just an excuse for boys and the way boys are.
yeah.
All right, well, wanna
Yeah, so
pour while it's hot.
I brought pour over stuff. This is truly how I started in the coffee snobbery world. I pour over it. Well, I really started with just black drip, and then a friend bullied me into stop drinking coffee like super milky and super sweet.
Mm.
So he's like, just drink it black. And I started that way. I started with a French press, and then that's how I got into the coffee world. Sorry, I'll move it a little closer. Pour over is basically, to me, the best way to get good coffee. You're extracting the most flavors, and it's just kind of relaxing when you get in the zone.
Yeah, it's like a little Zen garden over there.
Exactly.
Mhm.
It's all about ratios and it's all about beans. Truly, your beans are gonna play a big role. So I'll be using our Cielo beans, Cielo roasters in Austin. My boy Mondo,
Mm.
Shout out.
he's the best. So it's all about ratios. This is, like I said, my personal setup at home. I use Fellow a lot. Also, shout out to Fellow.
Yeah.
They make incredible coffee products, especially like if you're making a home bar.
So you're like,
So
oh,
this-
dude, you're like measuring it
You
out.
Yeah.
gotta
so
weigh. You gotta weigh the
You
grams.
gotta
and
weigh.
weigh.
It's all
Yeah.
about, and I personally for pour overs I like a 1 to 14 ratio. So for every 1 gram of coffee, you have 14 grams of water. This scale, again made by Fellow, it's a little pricier, but it's incredible because it sets up the ratios for you.
Mm.
So you get to set up, like, you tell it what ratios you want,
Yeah.
and then
It's hard to find a good
it
scale
kind
these days.
of does the math for you. So I used to just have to do it in my like calculator.
Oh, nice.
But this one is nice like that. Some roasters will give you like a good ratio for their specific beans because again, even that ratio can change a little bit, like a 1 to 15, 1 to 14, and it just also depends on personal taste. I truly just find that 1 to 14 is just that sweet spot.
Huh.
Mm.
So I usually, especially for a small V60 like this, I'll do like a 25 gram
For what?
coffee.
I'm sorry.
For like a so this is called a V60.
The cup. The pour over
The
cup.
pour over itself. You have
Okay.
even within the pour over world, you have different ones.
What is that? The angle of the cone?
It's the angle, and also like you see how it's got like little rivets, and like the fact that it's small. Chemex is gonna be that, like, you see those are like beautiful looking, and they're like glass. It almost looks like an hourglass.
Yeah.
It has like that little wooden handle. That one allows you to make a bigger one, and I always think that makes it clean as pour over. But really, like I said, a pour over at the end of the day is
Do
a
you know
pour
the
over.
origins of that style? Because and the only reason I ask is because it's very reminiscent of like a Vietnamese style coffee.
I think it might be. To be honest, I haven't dove into that as much. I
Huh.
think I like more of the
If only
different
there was
types.
someone on the computer.
Ooh,
I'm just
yikes.
kidding. I'm just
Do you
kidding.
have your phone? You can
Um,
pop that phone
I
up.
know. Let me look.
that's funny.
I
The
know.
first step, of course, you want to wet your beans with like double the amount of water that you put in beans.
Let it blooming.
Yeah, you gotta bloom it. It
Yeah.
sounds silly, but it's
Get that nice carbonation up on top. CO2 releasing.
exactly.
Oh, that already smells so
I did
good.
go down a coffee trail a couple years ago where I was like, get me
It's
give me one of those manual espresso presses and
truly.
yeah.
I also love. There's just so many ways. For my wedding, my best friend Josh Jones called me a siphon. And truly, that is like science nerd at its finest. It's an electric one that the really cool ones. You put it over an open little Bunsen burner fire, but this one is an electric, and it's just this like contraption where you put your beans on top, you heat up your water, and the pressure shoots the water up to the top chamber. It brews it, and then you cool it down to where it drops, and there's a filter in between, and you get your beans stay on top. That one is really cool.
Originated in 1908, German entrepreneur
Ooh.
Amelia Augusta Melita Benz. She was dissatisfied with the taste of percolated coffee, so she experimented with different ways to brew it.
What a
She
woman.
Shout
didn't
out
like
to
her. She
Amelia.
didn't like her
Shout
coffee
out to
burnt.
Man,
Well, it's just curious that it was only in 1908, though.
Mm.
I mean,
True.
You would
Yeah,
you
but
would think.
When did coffee really become a big scene?
I mean, wars have been fought over tea,
Sure.
so I would assume after.
Yeah. Like I said, I haven't really dove into the history of
You
it.
get into the history of coffee.
I think I just like the actual making of it, but I probably should honor it a little bit more.
See, okay. So I think I lean more towards this style because I'm like a gadget paraphernalia type person, and like just to have it. I mean, we literally have a popcorn machine in our house that we use very sparingly, but the fact that it's like produces movie quality popcorn where it has a little dump tray. I mean, it's not very
oh
big.
yeah.
You ever seen that popcorn style where you like put it in a pressure chamber and then you pop it at the end and it blows out in a bag?
No, I haven't seen
You
that
should
one.
check that out. You
Okay.
get one of those little candle burners and you roll it on top of it and it makes a big
Like
pressure
a Jiffy
chamber.
Pop?
No.
Oh,
Jiffy
You're
Pops
just
are
using
so
like
fun.
those candles that they use to keep food hot and stuff
Okay.
on the
Yeah,
buffets.
yeah.
You take one of those, it rides under there, and then you put some oil and some popcorn in this pressure chamber,
And
then you turn it and it'll like heat up, get super pressurized inside, and then it's got a pop on it, and you put that
It'll
inside
all
of a
pop at the
bag,
same
and you
time.
pop it, and it's like all blows out into the bag.
Interesting. No, I haven't
So
seen
it's a
that.
little bomb. It's a popcorn bomb. But
Sounds like you found your weekend
that's
activity.
a gadget. If you like gadget paraphernalia, that's one.
Well, even this.
Too bad there's not
TBH,
someone at the
I'm a
computer
big,
to
I mean,
mix
that's
it
kind
up.
of what I love about like coffee. And Lacey will roll her eyes and laugh, but she says I have like over 50 ways of making coffee at home, but I don't. But I do have a lot of different ways of making coffee because I love trying different gadgets, different methods, seeing how they compare. And I mean, practical. I mean, like I call it like my travel coffee ways. So like
Yeah.
an AeroPress. I even have a little pour over made by Stanley. Stanley
Yeah.
made its own one.
You're the guy that walks into the hotel room and like, get out of here.
Oh, I'm like, get out of here. And I bring my little
Unload.
bag of
Yeah.
beans.
Oh yeah.
Josh Ponder, shout out to that man, just got me a hand grinder for Christmas. And then you just step on my grinding game to the next level because I can travel with. I used to just pre-grind it at home and then travel. But I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
but even then.
I can grind it on the way.
I had the hand grinder at home, and then I'd use a drill on
Oh.
That.
Unless you want the arm strength, but like the
You know.
drill kind of made things
Oh.
convenient. So what is
That
this?
is
What are we
So,
drinking?
this is a pour over. Medium to light roast. The beans that we have right now are Costa Rica. And they're just like they're very fresh, very light. You have a little bit. Most of your like South American ones are gonna have like chocolatey, like oaky. Of course, your darker roasts have more of that, but these are going to be a little fresher. You can taste
Yeah,
some of
yeah.
that. Um, versus like an Ethiopian one or your African ones tend to be more berry forward.
Oh,
And
okay.
we started on a good Ethiopian or a Kenyan one, which
Okay.
Mondo had. We started with an Ethiopian, and I just had to switch it up. But he gave me a heads up that he's working on a really good Ethiopian one, which that's
Mm.
once he gets that fully roasted and bagged up, it's probably gonna be what we do next.
So I mean, once he perfects it, is it just pretty much essentially duplicatable? Or is
Mhm.
it more of a batch system to be like, oh, this batch, you got to try this batch?
I think it's more because he gets like a big batch.
Gotcha.
So once he perfects that batch, it's
Yeah.
like for that.
Yeah, gotcha.
But I will say I haven't dove much deeper into the roasting world.
Yeah.
And probably not at this point in my life. Maybe later I will.
Yeah, you're more on the other end of
Yeah.
things. And yeah, no, that
I
makes
knew a
sense.
guy in in Ohio. He had his own coffee shop, and he would roast his own on the stove.
Yes.
Oh.
So
I
he
had
just
a
buy
buddy
green beans,
that
and he would
Oh, that's cool.
he made pretty good coffee.
Huh.
You don't need a big roaster, just a pot.
No. But I think that's also for I guess you would work.
The
with it.
consistency is probably not quite the same.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm
It's gonna
just a
vary
bi-
batch
you
to
know what?
batch.
I'm a big proponent for just fresh coffee. Right? Not the
And
stuff that's been sitting in the supermarket on the shelf.
Fresh ground or fresh roasted?
Well,
Both.
okay, both.
If you're getting
Both.
if you're buying from a roaster, that's the other perk. Like you're getting fresh roasted, and you can get it roasted within like several months. Even if you have a coffee that was roasted within a few months, like it doesn't have to be like, oh, you roasted it yesterday. No, I want it. But like a couple of months, you're still getting that full freshness of it.
And then freshly ground.
Even better.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Hopefully within a week we'll finish off a bag of freshly ground.
Yeah.
Versus the stuff, no offense, Folgers, if you want to support the pod.
Or maybe offense to Folgers.
Yeah. That stuff that's been sitting on the shelf pre-ground for,
of course,
a while.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone I don't think Folgers crowd is the same crowd as Catalyst.
No,
I think they're
definitely
very two different breeds.
Waking up.
Yeah.
Definitely no. They like their coffee.
Maybe we need to
dark
have a little
black.
slogan that we sing like
Ooh,
that.
y'all need a jingle.
I mean, we do have
The best part of
Little
Sunday
jingle
mornings.
there.
We do
Yeah,
have a-
There you go.
Yeah. Too bad
That's
for
what
Terrell's
I-
sermon, but the best part is the coffee.
Catalyst. Yeah.
So, for those who
Ooh.
might ask, what's the difference between a pour over and a drip coffee maker?
Yeah, definitely.
Because it seems to be the same mechanics.
So it is dripping, I guess. The difference is in most drip machines you set your beans in that little basket, and then it's just like dripping centrally. And so you get like even like a steady stream. So you're really only like truly wetting and eventually it wets everything, but it just solely focuses in the center. Versus like in a pour over, you are doing those circle motions. So you're irritating and wetting all the beans through, and you're getting all that, and it's like abstracting it even better. And then that get filters down. Gravity brings it down, but you're getting more of that full true flavor. Those beans as it soaks in there, sits in there, and then brings it down.
Maybe they need a drip machine that has like a sprinkler head that
So
I think they do.
They
have
many
made,
those.
siphons and then goes through stages.
they have
I'm
made
sure they do.
automatic pour overs. Once again, shout out to Fellow. They just made one called Aiden. They've already different companies have already made some, but in my personal experience, and I don't have one because it's also like $370. If somebody wants to gift it to me, I'm a size Aiden. But Josh Ponder just got one for Christmas, and it's cool. Like you can program it, even like what kind of roasted beans you have, light, medium, dark. Because that'll affect like your temperature and different things. For lighter roast, you want to have a lower temperature, because when you heat up your water too much, it kind of, for lack of better words, will roast a little bit those beans and get you like a more like bitter, that like darker flavor.
So what temp is the water when you do the pour
I have
over?
it at 194.
Okay. It's a little ways away from boiling. Yeah.
Definitely.
Nice.
So yeah. So, but it is a good automatic. It saves you the time. Like I said, for me, also making it is part of the fun. But like in a practical way, if you're like, man, I got to run to work,
Right.
the Aiden sets it up. You set a timer. You wake up to a nice poured over coffee.
Oh, there's something about laying in bed, dreading to wake up and smelling that coffee,
I can
though.
only imagine.
Wakes you up, gets you going.
It does. Oh, I could smell it
I guess
from
I have
across
to get
the
out of
house.
bed to go get that. You just need a robot to come over and.
All right, Elon.
There-
Let's
I
go ahead
I
and
don't
get
think
these
Elon's
robots.
working
You
on
just
the
got to get an
robots.
Aiden.
If now Elon, you get the Neuralink and then you just download the coffee
Right.
and you just feel coffee sensations in your brain.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
It'll be
that's not
Wally
good for our
before you know it.
business.
Yeah.
No, the thing is, you would sell like the programming for the coffee, so
That
like
is
your
true. There you go.
specific flavors
Here's
of
your
coffee.
catalyst programming for that
Yeah,
chip in
exactly.
your
So
brain.
it's more. It's kind of coding, but learn to code.
I guess we will sell our catalyst.
I got to go back to school and try again.
We gotta learn coding.
And then an ad comes through.
Yeah, there will be an ad,
shoot.
of course.
Okay.
So, what's your preferred method of making coffee? Is it the pour overs?
100%.
Okay.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm willing to take a little extra time.
Mm.
If I'm rushed, French press. I always say French press is a gateway for snowberry coffee.
I used to do a French press in the office.
It is incredibly easy.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally just let them soak. You set your timer.
Well, and okay, so a misconception in asking the coffee expert, you're not supposed to press it down?
Not
I
right
do have
away.
extra.
Not right away.
No,
Oh,
people
well, I was
press
just
it
messing with
down
it.
to
I
kind
got
of
extra.
mix it, but no.
Yeah, no.
And you're also supposed to bloom your beans. Don't let nobody tell you. You
Oh.
bloom them first, but then you bloom them once, and then you pour your water. And that's the nice thing. Set a timer. You go get
Right.
your breakfast done, or you go do whatever you got to do. Maybe run to the bathroom, and then you come back, and your coffee's ready in about 4 to 5 minutes, depending on how
Yeah.
concentrated you want it. You press it down, and then bam. And the nice thing about it too, you can get a bigger size French press and
Yeah.
make it so. That is the only. I don't allow. I don't want to say I don't allow, but we don't have a drip machine at the house. Keurig, if it was up to Lacey, we probably would, but I have said no to that. Not that
There's a line.
not that I'm controlling.
It's a hard line.
I know she has to deal with being married to a coffee snob. Sorry,
She'd be like, if you could just make it, I'll drink
Yeah.
it.
But I taught her how to make a French press, and that's her preferred
Yeah, French
method.
press
Just
is
because it's
easy.
like I said,
Yeah.
it's easy, and I told her, I said you can have good coffee,
Yeah.
and it's easy. So that's kind of the simplest way we have at the house.
I do like the consistency aspect. Where once you get it dialed into what you like personally, you're not just, dumping in 4 cups or 4 spoonfuls, and
Or
who
to-
knows if it's going to be a little darker, a little lighter today. Who knows?
That's what the scale's for.
Yeah. No, I like that aspect of it.
Yeah. So or Lacey, but
Mm.
sorry.
How you feel about a mocha pot?
I do like mocha pots. I'm not good with them though. I will say.
So that's what
What's-
we've been doing
what's a
mocha pot
mocha
for
pot?
4 or 5 years. So
Is
you know
that the one with
the
the
little
The
aluminum.
Italian, so it's that one is Italian. Was
it's espresso,
So
right?
Mhm.
we have a stainless one. I got a stainless one because I don't want an aluminum.
Oh,
so
ugh.
Bayonetti.
yeah.
This is the
one
brand.
with
They're the big brand.
Yeah, with a little man.
Yeah. But what you do is you boil your water, so you get hot water first.
Mhm.
You have a basket that you put your grounds in, then you have a pressure chamber underneath. It goes inside the basket with the grounds, goes in the pressure chamber, and then you have a top container that screws on top that has a what would you call it? Passage
Like
or
a
funnel?
spout.
A spout.
Yeah.
A spout. When the coffee boils, it's forced up through the grounds and then up through the spout and down.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like a perk, but it only goes through once, and it's super concentrated. It's about half the strength of espresso.
So
So we water it down. Like we put this much in a cup and then fill it up with hot water after that.
it's how it was born out of Italy, and that's how they make their espresso at
Right.
home. Again, it leans itself to like very dark ones, but the beauty of it is like you're getting quote unquote an espresso, especially if you load it
Eh.
up more.
Some want to say it's an
So-
espresso.
somebody-
It's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same, and I do agree. But
All you coffee
if you
snobs get in the
concentrate.
comments. Let us
Oh yeah,
know.
they'll
Yeah.
agree with us.
Oh,
Mocha
100%.
pot is not a
But
espresso,
but if you talk to
but it's a valid form of
Italians,
making coffee.
like I said, I think it's because they make it so concentrated. They'll pour it in their little like espresso, and again, it's just simple. It's a
Yeah.
cheap way of making that at home. And I think especially like you talk Italy, France, like in Europe, coffee is a big part of like also their culture. Like
Yeah,
they'll drink
culture.
that after like a meal because it helps you digest a little bit. And again, you sit down with your espresso. Uh,
Espresso.
but I tried messing with one and I have one and it's so finicky. You have to get the temperature of your, especially we have like a gas stove.
Mm.
So like if you get your flame a little too hot, it'll start spilling out.
Yeah,
It'll like shoot out.
the thing you want to prevent is it sputtering.
Yeah,
because then it gets very bitter.
Yeah.
So you want it to just flow out nice and evenly, and then you want to pull it from the heat when it's about 3/4 from the top or 3/4 from done actually brewing, and then just kind of let that last flow out. Because you're not getting a lot toward the end anyway of quality coffee.
Yeah.
But as soon as it starts sputtering, it's going to turn bitter.
And that was my problem. And at that point, I think when I got it, I wasn't fully like I was like that was what I thought was gonna be my entryway to espresso world.
Little did you know.
And I was like, I'm not interested. I just really like my light roast pour over. So I was like, yeah, I don't think this is ever gonna be my world.
I bet most people don't like espresso just for that reason.
For sure.
Because they're doing it wrong.
It 100%. It's
Yeah.
wild. When I took that class and like they talked about that, they're like, most of the time when you're getting an espresso from Starbucks or whatever your mainstream, and even sometimes small coffee shops that are just like, we're just making it, but don't take the time to craft it, or they just get dark roast beans because that's what
Right.
espresso is supposed to be. It just tastes like a burnt little thing, and you're like,
You calling out Starbucks?
Oh, 100%. But I mean, I do shout out to them because I will say Starbucks make that turn for the coffee world. They they make coffee shops cool. They started the coffee movement, I want to say, or re-brought it back. I
Yeah.
think coffee world had kind of like faded out, and then they revolutionized it. They started, and again, I'm not a big history buff, nor am I like out here doing a lot of research, but they started the
Yeah,
move of
still.
like coffee shops and different things, and then you can get some crafty stuff, but then I think they got big and they got lazy and they got convenient, and no offense, I don't want a big company coming after me. Not that they would, maybe.
Well, if they come after you on this little podcast, then we know
So-
we made it. We struck a chord.
We've made it somewhere.
So at our house, we have a little bit of a debate going on
Okay.
that Dutch Bros is in fact
Oh.
not a coffee shop.
No. It's not beauties in the cut.
I've never been.
Have you ever been to Dutch Bros?
I have. I personally don't like it.
I don't.
I don't know if I'm allowed
get
to say that on
I
here,
don't
but-
see how they call it coffee. I'm like, what are we doing?
No, it's like sugar
Yeah.
with a splash of like
Yeah.
a little bit of coffee, but
So-
no.
The best coffee I've ever had was in Denmark.
Oh,
I want to know how they make their coffee. So in Copenhagen, like the hotels had awesome coffee, like the $2 coffee at the hotel. The gas stations had awesome coffee. Every restaurant,
Interesting.
every bar had awesome coffee.
Huh.
And it's like, it's rich, no bitterness, very smooth, but it's got that espresso froth on top, but it's not espresso.
Interesting.
And you just pour it and you drink it black. You don't even want milk in it. Like I had it in my, because normally I would put cream in my coffee or milk. I mean, black's kind of a new thing to me, but like there, it's like you don't want milk. You don't want cream.
Man, now I'm really
That's
curious.
phenomenal.
Denmark?
Coffee, Denmark.
Man,
Look at the Denmark coffee scene. They take their coffee very seriously, but
Little business trip.
little business trip.
it I don't know how they make it because they all have machines too. It's coming out of a
Oh.
machine
Interesting.
where they hit a button and then out pours this very nice coffee.
Watch it be
But
like an
it's-
espresso or something.
No,
It's not that
Honestly.
strong though. I mean, they could be a
No, I
watered down
know, I
espresso.
know.
It could be a watered down espresso, but it's
no,
the
Nespresso.
the brand Nespresso.
Oh, it's not Nespresso. This is like unless Nespresso is making $5,000 big industrial machines, they might be, but I don't think it's out of a pod.
Interesting.
I don't. I'd look into that because it was phenomenal
I'll do a
coffee.
coffee trip.
I'm like, how do I get this coffee at home?
That
I
would
want this
actually be
coffee
so
at home.
fun.
Yeah. My dream is to, if we ever dive into the roasting world, I would love to go to the farms where we get the beans. You get to like form relationships with
Oh yeah.
farmers. They're giving you product. So I would love to go to Ethiopia, like have a close relationship with a couple of farms, know
That'd be
the
fun.
the farmers, and then for them, coffee is like ceremonial too. There's coffee ceremonies and rituals, and I'm like, man, I'll be down.
It's like a coffee religion.
Honestly,
Maybe.
I don't know.
You sold out to Jesus.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say, I don't
We're
know
not gonna.
as much as I love coffee, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
JC is
No coffee
where-
communion.
JC.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Ivy, you like
Mm.
coffee?
I do like coffee. I had a not to hate on the automatic espresso machines, but had an espresso for a while, and I liked that. But here recently, I just upgraded to a big Breville machine. Just
Okay.
I woke up on Black Friday last
Yeah.
year, and I was like, I'm gonna go buy an espresso machine. So
You didn't like almost get killed trying to get that espresso machine,
absolutely
did you?
not. I went in
Okay.
the middle of the day, and it was just super.
Black Friday's dangerous.
Yeah.
I've gone a couple times and I'm like, this is not worth it.
Well, now it's like kind of all online.
Yeah.
So it's like
Mm.
there's nobody there. But I do like what are they called? What are they called that I like? With the milk? The cappuccino.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
do like a good
With like the
cappuccino.
froth.
You like more the froth.
Mm.
Yeah. That's like my favorite thing. So
Latte
Is
is my
your-
like. If I were to pick any of my favorites, a latte.
I
A
do
latte,
Yeah.
yeah.
do like a good
Is your social media just full of coffee stuff now?
coffee and cocktails is
Yeah.
my social media right now.
That's funny.
Mm.
So but yeah. But I do love waking up to my espresso machine now. Maylee texted me this morning and she goes, because normally her and I are craving something from Starbucks at the same time. And she texted me and she was like, I'm craving Starbucks today. Are you? And I said,
Ew.
Yeah, I would say
Okay,
you're like,
hush.
let's not end a relationship here.
but we won't end a
We
relationship
won't.
here.
We've been through too much.
But I said, no, I'm looking forward to my espresso machine, which I was like, whoa, I didn't realize I loved it that much. So,
That'll
Mhm.
go.
yeah. So
Yeah, there you go.
making Jesus proud of here. So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about the lab side of things. How do you come up with your chemistry?
Man, it's a lot of like fun, and I think it'll be also fun once like we also start diving into the bar side. I would say the lab side is like the syrups and what we mix into things. I'm a big believer of making my own syrups, and
Mm.
I don't, here, I'm not hating on big coffee shops and even like a lot of coffee shops. I think, sure, you can just buy your syrups, and maybe somebody can come at me and be like, well, you don't know because you don't have like a big influx of a coffee shop. But I beg to differ because I've seen well done coffee shops. Again, if I'm gonna give a shout out, um, Neighbors in Jacksonville. And once Jacksonville, he says, but they have a good and a big coffee shop, and all their syrups are homemade. And there's just something about it, like you have good quality, and like it's really not that hard to make syrups.
It's not.
You make them in an evening, and like I make ours in an evening, and it's nice. I let them sit overnight to truly soak that flavor. And then you bottle them up, and so
I mean, high end bars are the same way too, where they make their own mixers.
exactly. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's good. Yeah, again, it does require a little more work, but I'm like, it's worth it. Like you get a good true flavor versus like
And then you can tweak it how you want to. You're not
exactly,
stuck
like
to
you
what's
want
coming
more.
from.
Like I've made some good syrups accidentally or just like experimenting with stuff. Like right now we have one that I think it's kind of it's gonna be one of our staples that probably stays there. But our even just making our vanilla syrup, I started playing with just like browning sugar. I'm not
Mm.
browning sugar, sorry, browning butter. Because I had kind of seen a couple of blogs where people like brown butter,
Yeah.
and then I was like, I'm just gonna add that to my normal vanilla recipe, and it's fun because it gave it like a little butterscotchy like a flavor to it,
Mm.
and then it's fun things that I'm like, if I just bought a vanilla syrup, you know what you're putting into them, like, and you can control them if you're like, man, I take pride in it having a little more of a punch. Then it's like you
Mm.
add more of that.
You go
So
for
it's fun. It allows me to like experiment with different flavors. I'll tweak things.
You
yeah, I
try
would
it.
have never tried like gingerbread. If you would have put that in front of me and said, this is like your only option, I would have just chose no coffee.
Mm.
But after trying his syrup, I was like, oh, this is incredible. He like brought out all the spices. It's not like sweet. It was more on the spice end.
Yeah.
And it was just incredible. Like I just never would have even guessed to do that.
Mm.
So he does a pretty pretty awesome job at that little aspect of the business.
You ever play around with allspice?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
an allspice
allspice.
syrup?
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, not an allspice syrup, but
Oh.
I do
Candles.
use allspice in
Mm.
a lot of my spice forward syrups, like she said, the gingerbread.
So what have been your most popular creations?
That gingerbread did
That one
hit
was
really
a
good.
hit.
I like it, and that it does good, especially with a crowd that doesn't like super sweet stuff. Because that's the other thing. And again, hating on Dutch Bros and things like that, and
Yeah.
Starbucks, like sometimes their stuff is just too sweet.
Yeah.
Or
But it's
too
kind of
much
funny,
of it.
or too much of
Can't
it.
even taste the coffee.
Yes. So, and which then you have the other crowd, which not to hate on those crowds, because hey, they're out here buying our stuff, and we
It's not
love
hate,
them.
it's judgment.
But they like it to just taste like the flavor in it. And I'm like, hey, if that's what
I
you
like
like,
that caramel
let us know.
frappuccino.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So I mean, I'll give you an extra pump, but I like
Yeah.
the flavors more mixed with the coffee, not just around the
Put
coffee.
that on a
down.
shirt.
It's like when someone, when you're cooking a steak and someone asks you to make it medium well, and you're like, okay, I can cook it wrong.
Yeah,
I'll cook
that's
it wrong
fine.
for you.
Right.
I'll give you a piece of leather.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for
Mm.
sure.
Oh, good analogy.
So I would say gingerbread was pretty popular.
You did a what was it? Ube?
Yeah, right
Ube,
now we
yeah.
have an ube one for Valentine's Day for the month of
Mhm.
love.
Month
So you're a
of-
big fan of Valentine's
That
Day.
one's got to
I'm
say
a
too.
big Valentine's Day fan.
So let's talk about. He's been wanting to talk about Valentine's Day since it's coming
Oh
up.
my gosh, yes.
What are
you
your
about to hate?
feelings on Valentine's Day?
Yeah, so and I think as a Christian, I especially love Valentine's Day. But I grew up with my parents. They bought my sister and I always something for Valentine's Day, and I like that they emphasize that Valentine's Day is not just you're not just celebrating like I just call it eros, like your romantic or horny love. Like it's a day where you celebrate love and like the beauty of it. Like, and you can say what's been commercialized or my favorite argument or what people always tell me, like, why do I need one day to say I love you? And I'm like, well, first of all, if that is the only day you're telling your significant other that you love them and you're doing something for them, then you got to reanalyze your life. You better check yourself.
Mhm.
Two, like, why do you need a day to say thank you? Why do we have Thanksgiving? And so on it, or Christmas. Why do we need one day to celebrate the birth of Jesus?
We can debate that, but
That's
that's not what this episode's
I
about.
know. I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
like, it's not that is the only day where you do it. Like I said, ideally, and I do hope that you're doing it more than just one day, but it's a day to highlight it, a day where you're like extra shout out. And it's just like some people get all caught up, and I understand like the loneliness of someone being single, but like it's about love, like your phileo, like your brotherly love, your love for your brothers and sisters, your love for your bestie, like friendship love. And I think we miss that out, and especially to me as Christians, like love is the force that brought us back. Like Jesus had that agape love that said, you know what, like I'm gonna step in. Like it was a drive. Like God is love. And it is that force that caused Jesus to say, I will leave the side of my father to rescue and bring home that lost brother.
I wish more people thought of Valentine's Day with that regard versus I'm speaking to the women out there. Sorry, women, but the expectation and then getting let down is what ultimately I think I'm disappointed with.
Mm.
I like your explanation with regards to the day and celebrating it for those reasons. And if it was pure with that, I think probably a lot more men would probably jump on board.
I mean, from your perspective, it shouldn't really be between genders. It should be between
Oh,
everybody.
like 100%.
Like, we all give each other Valentine's.
I'm down.
I normally give like my
You say you're done or you're down?
I'm down.
listen,
Yeah.
I normally give like
Down.
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 Okay.
There we go.
specifically like Josh Ponder, because again he'll find me on it sometimes. But like I'll give him like a little Valentine's Day gift.
There you go.
And like it's things like that I'm like, I love you, brother. Like you're my best friend. Like I'm gonna give you something. And again, it's not even about the gift; it's what it
Mhm.
symbolizes. Again, and then you go with people arguing, "Well, you should not to buy love," and I'm like, "It's not." And I think again, I grew up with. I think my mom's love language is gift giving. And sometimes people don't receive that well, but I'm like, it's what it means. It's not
Mhm.
just like, "Hey, I got you
Yeah.
this." It's I took time. So when someone gives me a gift, this is a mentality that I have when I receive it, even if it's something totally random that I might not even like. I think somebody took time out of their busy day. They were at a store and they said, "You know what? This reminds me of Jesus. I'm gonna like get it for him for some reason, or even intentionally going to the store. You know what? I'm gonna get Jesus a little treat or a little something." And especially as an adult, money is a resource,
Mm.
and you're using your time, which is another resource, and your money to get something for me. Like, what an honor! Like,
Mm.
thank you.
Mm.
And
You're really making it hard for me to not leave this podcast and buy something for
I'm
tomorrow.
sorry. And
Mm.
like
Yeah,
I
I'm kind of
want,
feeling like a bad friend over here.
yeah,
Well, we talk about like the gifts between guys. Not to go on a cultural tangent.
oh,
But one of my pet peeves is with the growing of the LGBT community.
yeah,
Um, it's gotten to where like bromances aren't allowed anymore.
ah,
Like love between guys has to be gay.
ah.
Even to the point where like looking at David and Jonathan, it's like, oh, they must have been having
And
a
must have been.
relationship rather than it was like two men who fought in battle together and truly deeply loved
Yeah.
one another in like a spiritual way.
Bromance.
Oh, I will fight somebody that tells me that romances aren't a thing.
I
One
think
of
that
my favorite movies is I Love You,
I
Man.
love you, man. I was hoping
And that
you were
is
about
like
to
one of
say
the
that.
most
Yes.
classic
remind
bromances.
me on that. What is that's
Oh, Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd and
Gosh, Marshall from How I Met Your Mother. Ah, goodness, I can't think of
I
his
don't think
name.
I've seen this one. I know the name.
Josh. I
Uh,
don't know.
Anyway,
anyways,
but yeah, it's one of those things where we've
Slapping the bass.
La bada bez, man.
culturally, as that community has grown, we've made everything about sex and who you want to have sex with.
I can
Right.
see that.
And we've stripped the spirituality out of relationships.
I can see that. I also think, I think women have done a better job. Like, ladies created Valentines. Shout out, I want to say honestly, Parks and Rec, Leslie Knope. I
Yep.
feel like she popularized it.
Yep.
And ladies do such a better job at like loving each other, empowering each other. And I'm like, yes.
But it's
Like
allowed.
a
We need
day where it's like
Valentines.
exactly our
Valentines.
community
Oh.
group.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Our
Okay.
community group does
Dang
that.
it.
Like we'll split on Valentine's Day, so we'll do that this Sunday, and we'll do Valentine's and Palentine's. But again, ladies do that. They do a good job at like celebrating. They'll have these like beautiful gatherings where they'll like make different cocktails and decorate and do stuff. And I'm like how fun. Like, what's up? Like you taking the time, whether you're the hostess or you bringing something to that to say like, let me serve you, let me love on you. And I do think
I-
guys should do that.
I do
Like
think men do that to some extent. It's kind of more masked. Like it's the football games
for
and
sure.
Super Bowl parties and like those kinds of things where they think it's gonna like
100%.
bro out. There's just no like, I love you, man.
Yeah, I think men are just
There may be
afraid.
some I love you, man. But,
Yeah,
you know.
they're afraid to say that, or they're afraid of like even this sounds weird, but like that like physical connection of like a hug. Like I'm a big hugger,
Yeah, I've
and
always
I
I-
love to hug people tight, and especially it's always fun. You have the guys that are just like not used to another man hugging them. And I kind of like to break that a little bit. So like I'll lean in a little bit closer when I feel like somebody kind of be and it's the man, like the man that I feel like I don't know, I'm not used to a man hugging you, and I'm like,
Mm.
just embrace it. Like there's nothing sexual about this. Like I just want to tell you I love you.
We should do a YouTube video. We just send Jesus out onto the streets
Listen.
hugging people.
Free
Giving out free hugs.
I have seen videos where people stand out there with a free hug shirt at colleges and stuff like that, and I'm like,
We got to get you one of those.
come on, listen, I would
We could
rock
do a
you.
little man on the street.
It's a
Yeah.
hug with every coffee.
A hug with every
There you go.
coffee. Like there's power to a hug, like a good, well intended hug. I used to say my spirit is reaching out to your
Mm.
spirit because people are like, how do you hug so well? And I'm like, it's because I let my spirit reach out and hug you. But I mean, we've all encountered it at some point where you're just having a rough day, and then somebody just gives you a good. I hope everybody has encountered it at some point, and like you just have somebody hold you, and there's something about it that you can be a little vulnerable at that point. I think that's what scares, especially I'm a come from men. Like men are scared to be vulnerable. We didn't like as a society we're expected to be tough, and I mean I'm not. You can go back and forth. We've made men to.
Define vulnerable.
They're afraid to embrace emotions and be open about them and say like, "Hey, I'm scared. Hey, I'm overwhelmed." Like because, and I think it comes from maybe well intended of like I have to provide for my family, and there's a weight that comes with that. But like it, I think God then pushed to like you better pick yourself by the bootstraps and like boys don't cry. When I'm like, no, boys do cry. Like boys hurt. Like we experience heartbreak. We experience disappointment. Like, and yes, I can be a provider. Yes, I can be tough, but I can also give my daughter a hug and tell her I love her. I can also let her do my hair and put hair clips and like
Yeah.
and embrace her. And at the very same time, like be a man and provide. And it's just like it's gone away. I don't know. It got lost somewhere. And again, you can argue,
You definitely had John Wayne era
yeah,
Well, I
type
guess
men growing
for
up.
the woman in the room,
Right.
is a vulnerable man attractive?
I would think so. But speaking on, I mean, I would say yes to answer your question, yes. But to speak on like where it got lost, I think I've noticed here recently on social media, like you see a lot of the vulnerable men like just get bashed and shamed. Where like John Wayne didn't have social media, so like he's not getting bashed and shamed for anything. And so I don't know. It's just really crazy to see like if Jesus were to go post and go viral on something, you're gonna have people from who knows where saying, "Oh, you're a terrible dad because you're hugging your daughter because what if she doesn't want that?" When it's like
I've never heard someone say that. That seems
when
that
but I'm
seems
just
a little.
that
or
is like
like
the side of like
Yeah.
those are the things you see on social media
Do you?
of like
I'm glad.
do
Good
you
thing I
agree?
stay off
no,
social
I
media.
do agree. Like you'll see like
Like you're looking on random
like,
reels and
they'll
stuff
use like
like
P word or like you're weak, like man up.
Trolls.
Well, that's stupid.
Trolls.
Yeah,
we
I
mean,
you
got
have
trolls.
I
We know
mean,
about
okay,
trolls.
so like that's toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
You want
Right.
to define
Yeah,
toxic
exactly.
masculinity.
Oh,
But to go back to the question, like, is a crybaby attractive? A male
No,
crybaby.
there's a difference.
no, but
between
there's a big difference
crybaby.
between
Exactly.
crybaby and being vulnerable.
And I
Yeah.
think that's where like the divide happens. Where one, like, I mean, I've heard stories of like men opening up to women, like truly opening
Right.
up with like their hurts and their scars, and then they get dumped 2 weeks later because the woman wasn't mature enough to handle the man's emotional issues,
Right.
which all men have them. We all have them. We just keep them hidden on the inside. We say we're fine.
Right.
yeah.
We're fine. I'm fine.
Yeah,
You're
but
fine,
that's,
right?
I mean, yeah, and it could be. I mean, I think different aspects have played into it.
Yeah, and I think you see it a lot too, like you're a mama's boy if you're,
Really.
vulnerable and like I don't know, I think I've seen it in a different light where like social media is naming it all these different things where it's
Right.
like you're just being real, like you're just being human. Like you hugging Josh is just you being human. Like it's not weird and like even you hugging your daughter is not weird.
Yeah.
It's just you're being human and I just think that
Yeah.
gets like shut under this weird light of
I think that a lot of that's coming from trolls though too.
well,
like,
right. But
yeah.
I'm just like
And I would say
hope.
the women that are breaking it, and for sure, there is always. I mean, it's all about balance. Life in general
Right.
is all about balance. Yes, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're out here crying every day, but I also think if no matter what, if you're out here falling apart over everything,
Yeah.
regardless if
Yeah.
you're a man or a woman, if you're out here falling apart like every day, then I mean, yeah, not really. Even I feel like a guy would probably be like, oh, remember this relationship.
Right.
It's not attractive from either
It's
gender, unless
not.
unless your desire is to like be the narcissist savior character.
I was gonna say, then you have the unhealthy fixers.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
my role is to fix, but you see men and women walking that. But I think like there's power in vulnerability, true vulnerability. Again, where it says like, "Hey, this is what I'm struggling with right now. Hey, here are my tears,
mhm.
but I'm also gonna like walk in it, embrace it, and then also then release it to the Lord."
And it takes us a large amount of strength to actually do that
Yeah.
and be open about your vulnerabilities.
Well, there's a nuance to it, right? Being vulnerable as a man to a man versus being vulnerable to a certain extent to a man to a woman.
Hmm.
I think, right? I
You mean like it's
definitely
easier man to man or man to woman?
yeah, no, not that necessarily that it's easier, but it's a different.
Well, okay, you've been married for 16 years, right?
Yeah, it'll be 16 years next.
Sí, pues no me
So
acuerdo.
I've been married for 14. How long have you been married?
6.
6.
6.
So, I mean, I know I personally can, like, there's really nothing that I can't tell my wife. Like, I don't think there's any subject we haven't gone over and talked about. And, like, she's never used anything
But
against
you
me, held
grew
anything
into
against me.
that.
Sure.
Mm.
Well, we got married young.
Whereas
I guess the point I'm getting at is a good, strong wife is that a helpmeet is there to support their husband when their husband needs that vulnerable
but I'm
voice
saying
or needs to be vulnerable to someone.
I think there's a little bit of a nuance with regards to if I just met somebody at church and we connected, I would probably get more vulnerable with another man quicker
Sure, of course.
versus a
Yeah.
potential spouse that I'm
Potential
trying to court.
spouse.
Right, like
Yes.
that I'm trying to court. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Unless you're trying to lay it all out there, like, this is who I am. Take
well,
me or leave me.
I guess that really boils down to as well, though, as a married man, I don't have a lot of female friends.
If he doesn't like me at my worst,
So I was gonna say, well, it's also hard because like
Yeah.
like if you're a married man,
Little to
our
no female
perspective is
friends.
kind of has faded out. But I put it from this point of view. I represent this and go, obviously I'm not out here. I'm not a bro. Let's just put it out there. Like I'm just not.
Well,
I'm not a dude. I'm not out here.
You're not a
like
coffee bro?
I mean, you can call me
Okay.
coffee.
I think you're one of the bros.
But by cultural, like I'm not a dude. Like I'm not out here watching sports. I'm not out here like
Right. No, you came
So-
to the right table with that one.
And right. And I like growing up, I struggled with finding guy friendships because of that. And so I did used to find it more comforting. I especially high school and probably like first half of college. Most of my friends were girls because they were comforting. Uh, and I used to think, and I would actually even present the argument that it was easier to be vulnerable with them. And not because I was trying to get with them. Actually, most of them I wasn't. It's just I found a friendship because a lot of times, for better or for worse, sometimes it is just trauma dumping, but girls will be open up a lot more easier. And there's something comforting about that when they open up, then you were willing to open up and they're just more like naturally inclined to comfort, at least a lot of the girls that I encounter. And I don't want to, women are not, you can't box them either and stereotype, but I've met a lot of
Different
comforting
creatures, yeah.
girls. And so it's just easier for me to be vulnerable with them versus like you encounter your bro or your dude who they're like, bro, like suck it up. Like you
I mean,
a guy,
this is high school too, right?
yeah,
Like,
high school and college though, like a guy goes through a breakup, he goes to his friends, are like, oh man, I'm sorry, bro. Like, I want to watch some sports. Versus like a girl goes through a breakup and like her girl squad is gonna show up with wine, with ice cream, and like ready to burn pictures and ready to burn cards. Like
Right, and that's what I was about to say. I've never been in a relationship. 23, never been in a relationship at all. But I've been yeah, let's do whatever you
let's
need
go
to do.
key his car.
I was
Yeah,
about
let's
to
key his
say
car.
that.
Let's slash
Hey,
his tires.
no
Let's
destruction of property
do
on the
whatever we need to
podcast.
do. But like I'm also bringing ice cream if that's also what you want to do. Like we can do this extreme or this extreme where we just stay home. But I've noticed it's like through high school I've had guy friends who are also like we're doing the same thing. It's like, okay, what do you want to key your car? Or do you want to eat ice cream? Like what do you want to do? And so I think I've had the experience of like bringing my girl squad into like a guy's relationship here that's been set aflame here probably by one of my friends. And I'm over here putting the puzzle pieces back together. And so I don't know, I think I'm used to guys being vulnerable with me because like I did have a lot of guy friends in high school that kind of carried through.
Right.
But
I do think the divide is that, like, well, not the divide, but the proper middle ground is that, like, yes, men have problems
right.
and they need to talk about their problems when they have them, but there is also something to manning up. Because I mean, to be like pragmatic, men's value to society is what they can accomplish and what they're capable of. And I yes, we all have our own, our human value. We're valuable as humans. But an able-bodied man who does nothing for society is not very useful.
Well, yeah.
And and that's where, like, I think when the victim mentality kind of infuses culture, it's easy to sit back and say, "Oh, I have my disability, my ADD, my whatever, and I just need to like clam up and sit in the corner and leave me alone." Like that's a bad path to go down.
Oh, I
Right.
mean,
Yeah,
but that's again, I agree. But again, it's the
there's more of
extreme.
them. The more we go, the more of them they
Oh,
exist in
man,
our
I get
culture.
that. But also, you
Or
can
maybe the louder they are.
maybe the louder. But I don't know. Like, and I will agree. Like, I think there's power in like acknowledging like, hey, I have anxiety, or hey, like understanding
Mhm.
your weaknesses. But I think it's when they become our identity that you do hit
Yeah.
those things like that. Then you hit people that are like, oh, I'm anxious. No, like you suffer from anxiety, and yes, like it can be a debilitating thing, but it's like it's the people then that like overcome those.
Overcome.
And of course, like I mean,
Yeah.
yes, you can argue with that, but I think that has been happening with
Mm.
people before. Like I don't know. I think it's easy to look at society and this new weaker generation, but I'm like, they're also embracing things that like the older
Actually,
generations never
I don't
did.
think the new generation is the weak one. I think my generation is the weak one. The
Maybe.
millennials.
I don't know. People
I
come from
don't know.
millennials and older people come from millennials, but then millennials come for Gen Z or whatever the
Yeah.
next one is. I think generations
Everyone's gonna
just
come for
love
somebody.
But
everybody likes to dump on the people below them. Where I think like each generation discovered things that the previous generation hasn't done well,
mm,
and they do it. And but there's shortcomings that come with it, and I
yeah.
agree. I agree. Do I know how to fix a carburetor and do the things that
But I'm not
like
talking. I'm not going at that. It's like,
yeah.
okay, you're a nurse, so when there's a trauma coming in, you don't fall
Well,
apart.
yeah,
That's
no.
like the last. You just set everything aside and focus on that right now, and you
Oh,
accomplish
for
the thing
sure.
you're there to accomplish.
Oh, 100%. But I
You know.
mean, like younger generations and millennials do that too. I mean, like I said, yes, I do agree in the sense with what you're saying.
And I'm definitely pointing at some squeaky wheels
For sure, there
where
are.
it's not the majority. It's the loud
It's a
minorities.
lot, and I think what has happened is people now just have a platform.
Yep.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I think that is why it feels louder, or sometimes it feels like it's more, is because people now just have platforms to put it out there. Where you hating on the boom. If I'm gonna go hate on the boomers just didn't have a way to put
Mhm.
it out there. But they're still like that. You still have boomers
Oh yeah.
that walk in whatever they walk in or whatever that embraced different toxic behaviors as their identity. It's an identity problem. It's what it boils down to. We just
Mhm.
don't know that we're beloved sons and daughters of the High King, so we don't know what we're capable of, or we embrace other things as our identity. My job,
Right.
my
Mhm.
disability, my role, even like something holy or good, like I'm a father, I'm a husband. But when that becomes your identity,
Yeah.
then
Well, and to
it's
contradict what I
unhealthy.
said earlier too about the value you provide to society, like if you do wrap all of your personal value up in what you can accomplish or what you're capable of, you're not in alignment with Christ there
Yeah,
either.
Yep.
exactly. It's about
It's a
balance.
balance.
It's a balance, I think. And again, it boils down to also like the squeaky wheels, like the people that embrace like even disabilities. Like again, we can go anxiety. Let's just pick anxiety or depression and pick at it and that embrace it. Yes, I struggle with that, and that is my area of weakness, but that's not going to define me. And again, I will
Mhm.
even get even more controversial. This is where like I believe medicine plays a role in it. Like I think medicine, and I think the Holy Spirit inspired people to create medicine. Again, controversial. I'm fine with that. Because I think those things are meant to be tools to empower us to fight back. yes, people then do become dependent on it. Of course, like anything, it can be
Right.
corrupted. Even the good
Mhm.
things that the Lord gives us can be corrupted. But I think those are meant to be tools to fight back. So, like, giving you medication that's going to help you maybe like tone down or maybe increase your serotonin. Like, but then if, of course, then if you become dependent on that, then yeah, that's when you embrace things. But it's like,
Mm.
it's meant to give you a tool to help you fight back, then for you to become more of who you are and walk in that. But again, we don't believe in balance. It's an identity problem. And
Mm.
Right.
sorry.
No.
We live in a world of extremes. Talking about squeaky wheels and lubricants.
One
Coffee.
of these chairs squeaking. What?
No, coffee. We got any more coffee?
Mm.
I didn't get
I would
more, but
love
Do we
some.
want to swap to a cocktail of some kind?
yeah, I
Oh, a
think,
coffee cocktail or just a
Yeah.
straight
I think
cocktail?
Ivy should make it then.
Well, I think all we're
Little
making is coffee
cocktail.
cocktails.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have mine and we have yours. Which one do we
Mhm.
want to make first?
Let's have this eraser you're talking about.
All right.
Okay.
I need to grab the ice and the seltzer then. Unless we
We
want to
can
use.
You want to
we
go
can
with
just dump
Ivy?
the water in here.
So Ivy, is Valentine's a tough time for you?
No, not really. I was just making a joke. Oh, sorry.
No, I know.
I was just making a joke about it earlier, but no, I've never
Yeah.
really cared. My best friend, Valentine's is her favorite holiday, she calls it. But I've just never felt like, it was anything
You're
worth.
missing out.
No. My parents' anniversary is today, so like the day before
Oh,
Valentine's
okay.
Day has always been my parents' anniversary, but they've always made it like a little special, but I've never really
I bet you your dad planned that.
yeah, he got out of a lot
He
there,
wa-
so
he was probably like, "Ooh, I asked her the day before. We can always celebrate the day
day
before."
before. Yep. There you
Ooh,
go.
that's a good idea right there.
Yeah, but they would bring in little treats here and there. Now we get a Venmo. We have to send I think a couple years ago my mom started this thing where you have to send a picture of you holding your hands into a heart and then she'll Venmo you your Valentine's present.
Okay.
So,
I love your mom.
we always get
Okay.
creative
I
on
like
that
that.
in some random way. So,
I love your
my
mom.
mom does a really good job of making little days like that special. So,
I just remember being in elementary school and having like the atypical Walmart bought Valentine's that you would hand out to your whole
oh
class.
yeah.
And maybe that's one of the issues I have with Valentine's is because it was also at that point and at that level a popularity kind of
Ah,
thing.
Mhm.
You know what I
I can
mean?
see that for
It
sure.
was like
How many
oh at
Valentines
the
did you get?
yeah. Even if because it was more all your classmates, you would give out the Valentine
Oh yeah.
to the people you liked, and then
And now everyone gets it. So,
yeah. Huh. Yeah, that's probably just some personal issues I'm working with with regards. But I do like your take on Valentine's. That's an interesting, different approach with regards to just yeah.
Man,
Because you're right. You're right with regards to God and love and Jesus and the reason He did everything He did for us. It all does boil down to love.
hot take. There was a movie that came out several years ago called Valentine's Day, and Lacey will probably roll her eyes at me.
Okay.
But I love that movie. Again, just God, Valentine's Day. But it's one of those movies that they have like different storylines and they all like
Oh,
interweave.
I know exactly what you're talking
Kind of
about.
like,
Yeah.
they made different movies, but they made that one, and I love it because Ashton Kutcher plays that
Yeah.
character
Ashton
that
Kutcher.
Trust me,
I
those glasses.
truly. If you ask me, can you relate to a character? I would say that is probably one of the ones
That's funny.
because he goes on that rant. He's a florist, and he talks about his passion for Valentine's, and I'm like, hey man. But what I like about that movie, as cheesy as it is, Taylor Swift is in it, and she like plays
Oh,
this
is she?
obnoxious,
Yeah, I think she
she plays
is.
this obnoxious cheerleader. But it just talks about the different like loves, like,
Right.
and it's just it's fun. It hits like the love of this little boy. His mom is in Afghanistan, like as a soldier.
Yeah.
So the whole movie, she's flying back trying to get to her boy. While I think it's Bradley Cooper's kind of like quote unquote flirting with her.
Was it one where all the stories were tied together in some way or
It's
fashion.
like
they
it's
all
one of those
do
Love
six
Actually type.
Yeah, like Love
degrees.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah, it's one of those where like
The
at the
same-
end, like
Yeah,
things
those are
weave.
those are so.
And at the end, you like start seeing when things tie
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yes. I'm a cheese ball.
All right, what
Alright,
we
so we're
got?
making-
What we got
Yes.
going on here, Amos?
All
Give
right.
us a
Has anyone had a
walkthrough.
White Russian? You know what a White Russian is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So White Russian is Kahlua, vodka, cream. And if you like it properly, you don't mix your cream. So if you take the Black Russian is Kahlua and vodka alone, and then if you add soda water on top of it to lengthen it all the way out, you get an eraser. And you know why it's
Eraser is
called
a
an
strong
eraser?
word.
You know
for a
what? I
drink.
always mess
Oh.
it up and throw my cream in there and it curdles.
Why is it
Ooh.
called an eraser?
Because
Like in your shaker?
because
Yeah.
same reason a Long Island iced tea is dangerous. You can't taste it, and after a while, it erases your memory.
Yikes.
I mean, this is a concoction.
But so yeah, it's like it's very very deceptive and easy to have too much of one of these.
Are we? Is our editor going to put up the directions in the?
No,
Oh, okay. So
that would make this podcast work.
Yeah. So what are
Anyone
our
else?
parts here? I saw you just.
1 part vodka, 1 part Kahlua, 3 to 4 parts seltzer.
Okay.
Use a little more of each. Which one did I drink out of?
That one closest to you.
Yeah.
The one. That one.
There we go. That's pretty good.
Oh.
Okay.
And then are we gonna put heavy whipping cream? too?
No. Then
Oh, okay.
then it would be that'd be a White Russian with soda water. I don't know about that.
Oh, so you just drink it like this?
Oh my gosh. I love it. It's
it does
refreshing.
have a little.
Cokey to it.
It tastes like a
That's
Coke.
pretty good.
It does.
Yeah,
Like
that's
a
what I was
dark
just-
chocolatey Coke.
Yeah.
Have you ever used Mr. Black as the coffee liqueur?
I have not, but you gotta have Mr. Black doesn't have. It's not a liqueur. It doesn't have sugar in it, really.
Yeah, I
How
guess
does
you're
it
right.
work?
Yeah, so you'd
A
have to
little
add
stronger.
simple syrup.
I
to
was
do-
just wondering if you've ever used it
I have.
for anything. I like that.
You'd have to use simple syrup with this.
I
in
just
order
use
to
it in
get the
espresso
same.
martinis. Is all.
Yeah, I see that.
That is pretty good though.
But like you can see how you could just drink a bunch of these,
It
and then
truly
all of a
does
sudden,
taste like a Coke. And then
why did I wake up on the lawn?
Lazy.
Where have I been?
Lacey, can you come pick me up?
Mm.
So we've talked about coffee. We've talked about coffee and drinks, which touche. This is a pretty
Well,
good.
Talk about the speakeasy side of things.
Oh,
What do you want your speakeasy to look like?
Or you got to have a hidden door.
Oh,
Indoors, is that what you said?
A
A
hidden
hidden
door.
door.
Oh, hidden door. I was like, indoor, of course.
Knock
Indoor.
three
No,
times.
yeah.
It's an
So
outdoor speakeasy.
So that feels like it'd be quite a vibe. But in my mind, it's like we have this bar and it's like got a wall in the middle, and then that's what divides it. If space allows, of
Yeah,
course.
I mean,
So
we gotta- what we? And now, if someone wants to give us a lot of money, shout out, and we will be your personal bartenders and barista.
truly.
We might have somebody in mind that can hook you up with a
Listen.
building.
We're out
Oh.
here. We're out here
Oh,
looking for a sugar daddy. I mean, an investor, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
technically
yeah.
is how you legally call them.
Did you just call him a sugar daddy?
Yeah, I totally did.
Don't say that.
I mean, it's like the
Uh,
brotherly
Um,
love sort of thing.
They get
you know?
they get sugar in their drinks. That is the sugar we get.
There you go.
I like the idea. We also like talked about having like a book. I don't want to call it a bookshop. I would call it
boutique?
Lacey's Corner,
Okay,
Yeah.
where we would have books, and I want to do something called like Lacey's Book Club.
I mean, there's so much you could do once
Where
you
we
do
have
get
like
to that
books
point.
that
yeah.
Lacey's read herself or that she's reading, and she'll write recommendations.
picks.
And if it's also like I always say like there'll be 50% off if it's the book that she read. But I would love the idea of like having that, and then somehow that bookshelf slides open, and then you go into the bar.
Mm.
Again, that requires a more intricate building.
Yeah.
So again,
Well, now you're thinking you could be open pretty much all day and in the evening because you get your coffee crowd in the morning.
Yeah.
Not to say you can't get coffee in the afternoon,
Yeah,
but
for
you
sure.
are gonna. Then maybe you get your scholarly folks in the evening, afternoon, right? Check out the local books, and then a certain time, The speakeasy open.
You go in.
Yeah. But I do like envision the speakeasy being like, pretty moody. And then my parents run an estate sale business where they go in and do estate sales for people. So I've like found this love for just like vintage barware and different things like
You
that.
find
It's
a lot
like
of that.
vintage glasses. I almost brought these little glasses today for us to use, but they were too small. So, but things like that, like just like the, like exposed brick. That's one of my favorite things. Getting down to the logistics of what it would look like, but like the practicality is just like craft cocktails. And then another thing that is becoming popular right now is a dry cocktail. So you have a mocktail and then you have a dry cocktail, but a mocktail is like you're just taking the alcohol out.
Right.
But with a dry cocktail, you're like crafting something that's not, it's like got alcohol-free
It's
alcohol.
not meant to have alcohol. You're not
Right.
just mimicking. It's
You're
not a
not
virgin
just-
daiquiri.
You're not just making this without alcohol because you would be left with sparkling water.
Yeah.
And that's it. And so I have a goal to like create a craft cocktail, mocktail,
There you go.
but dry,
Yeah.
And so
Have you ever tasted that non-alcoholic whiskey?
I have not, but
So
I
they were
want to get
giving
into all
samples
that.
out the other day at Specs when we walked in there, and it
Okay.
was one of the worst things I have
Oh,
ever
was it
tasted
really?
in my life.
Okay, well now that I've heard that the gin and the vodka are both good.
It was whiskey, and it was just
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's,
terrible.
That is
yeah,
pretty
I
sad.
think some have perfected it. Tom Holland just
But what's the
dropped.
point? What's the point?
Oh, let's talk about that. Tom Holland just dropped a, and I was watching a couple of his interviews. Just dropped a line of non-alcoholic beers, and this thing is, I mean, I understand like there's a certain world, and I feel
Beer,
like
well, I would say beer is more doable. I can understand beer and wines. I don't understand hard alcohol. Why you want a non-alcoholic?
I think
hard
the
alcohol.
reason why is like there are expectations in certain circles that like you're gonna be drinking. I feel like we are this circle of these people probably we don't feel that pressure. But if you're in the world and off the world or even like you feel the pressure of like I have to drink to keep up
Right.
with everybody.
being sober is not cool.
Exactly. So Tom Holland got into like struggled with alcoholism
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, like he was expected to be in the life of the party, go to that, and like again, alcohol just has a tie with you're not fun if you're not drunk because it does make you do stupid stuff.
Well, you can't be drunk flying through the streets of New York City on a web.
Exactly, you have to be sober to be Spider-Man.
I mean, we haven't seen it.
That is true, but so he created a line of non-alcoholic beers, but that was his heart, and I think like that's the point of like non-alcoholic alcohol or liquors, I guess. Like I think if to recreate the flavor, because there is something about like I think
The
we've
bite?
lost it in I don't want to say in this culture, like we've lost the point of alcohol.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
like it's the flavor of it. Like I love just the taste of a beer. I'm not out here trying to get drunk.
Right.
But then you have like I think that's why like there's a thing like Natty Light or like cheap vodka. Like to where it's like you're just there to get drunk.
Yeah.
Like nobody's out here drinking
No.
Natty Light thinking, "Oh my gosh, I
What?
love the notes of this.
What?
I love the notes of piss water." It just really comes through.
But the
that-
Natter days are kind
Right.
of something special.
Stop talking, get out of my face.
Mm.
But
I think there's also social lubricant. There's something to the social
sure,
lubricant
yeah,
aspect.
it does
Which-
numb some of that.
Which is like why I think a craft cocktail or dry cocktail menu
Yeah.
would be cool because it's like, all four of us are coming to the table. You want to have an old fashioned, but you're sober, and then you're also not drinking, and I'm pregnant. Then like you can have your old fashioned like you want to.
This
but then-
table turned weird. all
Yeah,
of a
it
sudden.
did. It did turn very weird. Sorry.
I love it.
But like we can all four we're having a drink that we want, that we enjoy, and it
Mhm.
like all kind of goes hand in hand. Like we're all having an old fashioned, but like it meets everyone's needs at the table
Yeah.
and wants.
And craving some of that taste too. Like
Yeah.
I would say like Lacey, like when she was pregnant, she would crave just a taste of like a good margarita, and that's if like creating those like if you again going
hard
back
to
to like if
mimic
you
that
enjoy
tequila
that,
flavor.
yeah, if you enjoy that flavor,
Yeah.
if you can create that and replicate that, then yeah, for the folks that are out here truly just enjoying the taste of it.
Well, I think you hit something with regards to culturally, because in Europe, the quote unquote drinking problem, I think, is shadowed by the fact that they can drink at an earlier age, but the cultural.
You mean a positive or negative?
I mean, I personally think it's a
I
positive
think it's a
I
positive.
think it's positive too.
I agree.
because you don't have this angst, this teenage angst
Yeah.
to rebel against the system, your parents, and as Terrell has mentioned previously, I think on this podcast about just drinking in excess and
When it's
pursuing something that to make it your identity versus if it's already kind of
it's not cool, it's not new.
Yes.
right.
And it's also like, again, going back to the system and the culture, like the movies. He's talking about Friday and like drugs and all that, but it's the same. Like you see, like American Pie. I remember being in Mexico, and I would watch American Pie. Probably shouldn't have. I was extremely young, and you see way too many boobs. But thinking like, I can't wait for that experience because it's like
that college or that high school
where you go crazy, you drink and you get wasted, and
it's glorified.
Where it's like then you actually do it and it's terrible.
I think that parents should teach their children how to drink, not other college kids when they're 18 years old.
How to savor it.
Teenagers.
Like, this is a good glass of wine. Like, we're not
this
here to try to get drunk. Yeah. Enjoy the notes of it. Enjoy the taste of it. Like, this is a good Cabernet. This is what good Cabernet is, and this is what $7 Cabernet is going to get you.
When she's already stingy with her coffee, so.
Come on.
That's funny. I bet you she is. Though.
I do. I make her steamers, just putting it out there.
Where did the whole it stunts your growth thing come from? Because I think that's a total lie.
I don't know.
Some parent didn't want their kid drinking coffee. And they're like, it stunts your growth. But here, have a Coke.
Right.
Which has caffeine in it. Yeah. And used to have cocaine.
And it used to have cocaine.
My grandparents used to say that. They drank probably 2 or 3 pots of coffee a day.
I thought you were going to say about the cocaine and the Coke.
Yeah, I was wondering where you were going with that.
The coffee episode, we're talking about coffee.
Cocaine's a stimulant too.
There you go.
I think it was definitely an excuse to not get us wired up even more. Obviously.
Yeah.
But
like I've seen an effect with like my oldest where if he drinks coffee, it will calm him down.
Right.
So there's something weird about that. It's like Valium has the opposite effect in adults as it does in
and Benadryl sometimes affects some kids differently. Benadryl wires some kids up. Yeah. I mean, I remember learning a little bit about that. I want to say, I don't want to throw that in nursing school, but maybe nursing school or maybe like biology. They did talk a little bit about it, but I think I would argue that it might just be an old folktale. I don't know. My parents were like that. As much as I love coffee, I didn't really start drinking coffee until I was like in college because my parents didn't let me drink coffee growing up. Like,
but it was like the round table social
even at the
thing.
round table, like my mom would be like, no, I could sit at the round table and I would get to see it, but she wouldn't let my tias pour me a cup, even though my tias would want to pour me a cup. But that's what my parents were like that about even alcohol. Like all my cousins, even in Mexico, were drinking at 18 and I wasn't allowed to drink. And I was like, but I can drink here. And she was like, but we live in America and you have to wait till 21. And I'm like,
wow.
But anyways, so I think maybe a folk, I don't know. But again,
what about coffee in your desserts? Tiramisu?
Ooh, that's good stuff.
Like cakes.
Would my parents take that away from? No, I think baked into it, they wouldn't care.
Have you ever made like the chocolate cakes where you I don't know the exact chocolate cake, but then you take espresso and you like base the cake with real espresso and let it soak in.
Yeah, that's tiramisu.
The tiramisu?
Yeah,
this was a chocolate cake, but this was like a straight up chocolate.
Well, maybe just a different take on it.
Chocolate tiramisu?
I believe you put mascarpone. Is that correct?
Sorry. Yeah, you mix
you put a layer of mascarpone, then you put your biscuits.
Oh no, you technically do the biscuits first. You soak
whichever.
your biscuits.
And then you put the espresso on top of the biscuits, let it soak in.
Yeah, you soak them in. Sorry, I just recently started watching tiramisu videos because I've been wanting to make a tiramisu. But yeah, the key to it
is then layers.
Don't over soak them because then they become soggy. Gotcha. So you like quickly soak them, put them down layers.
Yeah.
Ladyfingers soaked in coffee. or espresso, mascarpone, cream, another layer of the ladyfingers, mascarpone, cream, and then you dust it the top with like chocolate. But some people do like
Like,
matcha or like
there you
milk.
go.
I mean,
Oh.
strawberry powder.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
you can kind of get a little creative.
Yeah,
Well,
you
you
can
can,
get
uh,
crazy with it.
You should
Okay.
start serving those on Sunday too.
Oh,
Ooh.
listen.
You
Talk
probably
about-
get $8
talk
a
about mess.
slice.
Yeah. That would be-
Oh,
Yeah,
$8
and then
is
it's like
nice.
we'll all be like, oh, Terrell's preaching.
I know.
We're sleeping.
Terrible puzzle.
Come on.
Mm.
But to get back to the like wide, dry cocktails and back to the cocktail thing,
Yeah.
I
sorry.
was one that was in high school drinking, natter days and all the things. And I was telling my parents I was going one place, but I was really going another and all the things. And I mean, like 16, I was enjoying alcohol way too much.
Right.
Like,
Air quotes, enjoying.
yeah, enjoying. But like even my brother, like he was enjoying alcohol all the time throughout high school. And then even after high school, like after graduation, you hit COVID and then it was just like, what else is there to do? Like
Right.
we're 20 years old doing nothing on a Monday during the afternoon because we can't go anywhere.
Pastor party.
Yeah, so we're just sitting at I remember there was one time we got snowed in and like the only thing we went to the store was for beer. Like that's all we went to the store for. Like we didn't even have groceries. We just bought beer. And none of us had, I think one of us,
How are you buying the beer?
right, exactly.
Exactly. We're not going to talk about that.
We had no, we had one friend in the friend group who was 21, legit.
Gotcha. Legit.
She was a roommate. But then it's just
She
like
was the one committing a crime.
yes, committing
Yes.
the crime. We don't have to talk about that on here.
No, we didn't give names. We didn't give names.
But anyways, I think like, after I turned 21, I remember thinking like, oh, my 21st birthday is going to be so fun. We're just going to be like, yeah, party. But like it was like we had one drink. I had a whiskey Coke on my 21st birthday and then I was asleep by 8 p.m. And then after that I was just kind of like, oh, I don't have to like just drink
Yeah.
like all the time. I don't have to. But I like get to enjoy a good cocktail. Because before 21, it was just like beer all day long. Like that's all we wanted. That's all we had. Didn't even drink. Didn't even try to buy vodka or anything like that. But then like quickly after that, I started realizing this is kind of like an art. Like you can tweak it, you can mess with it, like you can do whatever you want to. Kind of like the coffee and the syrups and all the things. Like last weekend we tried a red pepper spritzer. It's a take on a Bloody Mary.
Ooh.
And it's got basil, lemon, red pepper, like bell pepper, vodka, and then a little bit of agave. But then by the end of it, we're putting cilantro, thyme,
Okay.
all these other ingredients, and it's like this is fun. Like we're getting to create
Yeah,
something that we can enjoy.
The worst part of a Bloody Mary is the tomato.
Yes,
So
exactly.
I'm
agree with
curious.
that.
I cannot
statement.
do.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all have got to try that. I'll send y'all the recipe. It's actually
Okay.
pretty good.
Or we'll have you back to make it.
Okay, yeah, there you go. But
On
yeah,
this, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I'm
I was
done.
going to say on this Christian podcast, since we're talking about alcohol so much, why do you think the Bible says that no drunkard will enter the kingdom of heaven?
I think because there is something about being drunk. So I think it gets used to like anything though. It numbs your like self-control. It numbs your spirit. And I think you see the flesh takes over. So that's why you see fleshy behaviors, like people walk in their desires of either sexual stuff. So like they see a girl and they'll, speaking as a man, and they'll hook up, or like fleshy desires like rage or fleshy emotions, anger,
Mhm.
Tequila makes her clothes fall
or
off.
tequila makes her, things like that. So I think what it does is it numbs your spirit, and it allows different influence to take over. So like you hear also different desires from the enemy that maybe like when you're fully sober you can hear and fight back, but when you're not, like you numb yourself. But it's no different than I think like an addiction to drugs or an addiction
Right.
to shopping. I think
Or addiction to Diet Coke.
our addiction to Diet Coke, like it becomes escapes for us not to deal with the difficulty and the challenges that we struggle with. Like, yes, it gives us that physical satisfaction
The
but I also
dopamine.
think the dopamine release, but I also think it also numbs things.
Well, it's feeding the flesh versus feeding your spirit
Mhm.
too.
And you're numbing that
Yeah.
spirit, and specifically, I think like with like alcohol, like you numb that, you stop hearing that voice. And I see it in the ER. I see people acting in
I bet you
behaviors
do.
that it's one either animalistic or just straight up like I don't want to say demonic, but like demonically influenced.
I mean, they do call it a
Like
spirit.
exactly. Like I've seen people act in ways that I'm like, goodness. And then
Yeah.
you get them sober and they're horrified when we tell them things that they did. Like I'm like, yeah, you did that.
Mm.
Josh Abbott nights and Nacogdoches are terrible for the ER.
What's that?
Josh Abbott, he's a big country singer, and
Oh,
people go get
I thought you were
hammered.
calling out someone specific.
No,
Yeah.
that shows up in the ER.
no, definitely not. No, that's a HIPAA.
Yeah.
No, Josh Abbott nights will always, and they've changed a little bit, but back, especially when I started, Josh Abbott nights, we would always end up with at least like
Mm.
6
Man.
like drunk people in the ER, bad drunk. And again, you would see them and they act terrible. And it's just because they've numbed the spirit, and they've allowed either, again, the physical, fleshy desires take over, and they act on those. And again, I say you open yourself up to the influence of the demonic more
Yeah.
because you can no longer fight back. So I would say that to me, that's kind of why like the Bible warns about it. It's not that alcohol is bad. Like I go back to like there's no way just a human came up with that. That was a spirit influence, like Holy Spirit influence.
We've been making beer is the oldest recipe in the world, I believe.
Exactly. You know, like the Lord is like, I want you to enjoy this. But then again, just like everything when we it's all about balance.
I think I heard someone say one time that that you would never find alcohol naturally in nature. And it's like the very aspect of decay and breakdown is what creates alcohol. Like life could not exist without the process that makes alcohol.
Oh,
So
100%.
so to that, Cat Williams had a bit where he was like, back I think he was talking about it on Joe Rogan. He was like, when you got too much grapes, guess what happens? It turns into wine.
Yep.
You
You
got
get it
too
on
much
your-
wheat, guess what happens? It turn, you know what I'm saying? In
Mhm.
excess, you get your spirits out of that.
People
Well,
get,
the grapes will get there on their own. With the wheat, you kind of have to do a little bit extra.
but people
there,
get
but-
drunk in jail like that. They'll ferment.
Oh, prison wine?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
They'll ferment stuff in the corner of their cell. And
Oh, no, it's in the toilet. They use the
the
toilet.
yeah.
Yeah.
Toilet
I'll
wine.
tell you.
Eesh.
Yeah.
And they'll come and we'll get them sometimes. I found inmates that are like, I don't go there alcohol level comes elevated, and I'm like, my man, who's been sneaking this stuff? And that's when somebody taught me
Who's
about
bringing you
Yeah,
grapes?
I'm like, who's out here bringing you tequila?
Who's smuggling in
Yeah.
tequila? They're like,
That's
nah, we
so
got the
funny.
good stuff
Nah,
inside.
we got that bowl, that punch bowl.
Yeah.
My
whoa.
perspective on why no drunkard will enter the kingdom of heaven is because it's idolatry. So if you have a drunkard, the most important thing in their life is alcohol, and it stands above God.
Mm.
And that's again goes to everything like drugs, sugar, whatever substance. Like if this thing is more important to you than God,
Not like that. Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you're in idolatry. So it's
I
not
can
to me. It's not the like drunk. Getting drunk is not good, but I don't think the act of getting drunk is the problem. It's this thing is more important to me than God.
That's what you're relying on.
I mean, look back to Jesus' first miracle.
Yeah, he turned water into wine.
Yeah.
Grape juice. He turned water into grape juice.
Yeah. I think it's that balance of idolatry too, but I also think there's a disconnect with like the relationship. It causes you to just again like not dealing with your ish, the stuff that the Lord wants to like do in your life. Like
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about, like with men having their issues, just displaying their emotions, being vulnerable. Like alcohol just masks that
It
vulnerability.
masks-
It covers
Yeah.
it. It covers it up. So I
covers
don't.
it.
I don't need to think about that thing anymore.
so
Yeah.
instead of dealing with the pain in my life, instead of dealing with what I need to deal with, like I then get to then walk in this and just numb it. I too need to head out pretty soon.
Oh, do you? Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry, wifey's calling me.
That's all right. Do we need to get to the espresso?
Oh, do we have time for that?
Or-
I don't. But yeah,
No, we
I
can.
know. Sorry.
We can call it.
Yeah.
This has been a good one.
Thank you guys so
Yeah.
much for coming and sharing
This has
this.
been awesome.
Yeah, thank y'all.
All right. Well, where can Catalyst Coffee be found?
You can find us for sure every Sunday at the Mosaic Foyer. We set up at 8:30. We're there till like 10:45. You can also hit us up on social media. We're right now only on Instagram, but we'll expand our horizons a little bit more at Catalyst Coffee 936. Is our tag. And we are open to doing like setup and events.
You're
We're
like a,
still
like a
working on that.
pop-up thing where you're like
Yeah,
a
we'll do
small
pop-up,
small footprint,
yeah.
show up,
So that's where
make
you
good
can find
coffee.
us.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you
Thank you
guys.
guys. We in focus? Hopefully.
Hopefully. What's up, Amos?
Jazzed up. It's all that coffee.
Are you?
And it's got me like I'm buzzing.
Oh man, see, coffee doesn't really do that to me the same way.
That 2 ounces of coffee I drank just has me like.
It was the coffee liqueur.
It's good though. I really enjoyed the direction the conversation evolved.
Yeah, and not forcing with an agenda. Hey, we went in with a game plan.
I thought we were just gonna talk about coffee,
Yeah.
and then we talked about deep stuff.
Yeah.
We screwed up. Lights are all on.
Uh,
Those lights over there. Yeah. All right.
Oh yeah. All right.
It's really awesome to see somebody else's perspective, right? That has lived a different life than you have. And especially a perspective on Valentines. I am a cynic when it comes to Valentines. Probably need to get over myself. But yeah, it was a really good conversation, man.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and Jesus definitely has a lot of love. He's full of love,
He is full of love.
and it's that good bro love. All right, where are we available?
Hey guys, check us out on YouTube. If you are listening only on our podcast, you can find us anywhere that podcast can be found, essentially on Apple, Spotify. Could we ask our viewers to go give us 5 stars? Could we ask them to go give us a comment, a like, a subscribe? Are we shelling for likes?
We are asking them, right?
We are.
Gotta get that algorithm to like start moving. Every
Yeah.
comment, every like, every share.
Even if you're talking shit.
Yep. Just don't dislike. Dislike does push it down.
Right.
Give us the likes, and then get us out there, because the more viewers we find, the more we can grow.
Yeah. Bring you guys some good quality content like this. Shout out to our good fans that are regular listeners that have listened to every single episode.
Yep.
We love you guys. Pretty soon, maybe we'll start naming you.
Maybe.
Ooh.
I don't know if they want to be named.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Bye.
ya.
Ah. Bye. That's
Bye.
mine. That's mine. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.